It's just required that we keep the banker in the loop at all times about 3 items in particular. First of all, what you're planning to do, how you're going to do it, the steps you've got to take, the plans you have, and when you hope to complete it.
Welcome to Rumination, the podcast that offers practical solutions to the challenges in our industry. Our topic today is growing lender relationships. Hi, I'm Chris Gwynn, your host, and today we're talking with John Ellsworth of Success Strategies. For over 30 years, John has served the dairy industry focusing on farm finance. 23 years ago, he decided to create his own initiative, which was the creation of Success Strategies and successstrategies.com, with the goal of helping his clients create and build financial plans. John is a frequent contributor to farm digital and print media, and in particular, you can find him talking about financial health on dairy business. John, thanks for visiting with us today on Rumination.
Well, thank you, Chris. Great to be here with you, and always happy. We have a lot of common clients, so I'm happy to contribute anything we can do to help them. But thanks for the invitation.
Wow, that's the goal. Hey, absolutely. And that's always the goal we have.
Absolutely.
Is bettering the abilities and making life easier for our clients. First question, love to expand on your journey of creating Success Strategies, how you got there and what was the thought and the things that you find along the way.
Excellent. Great question. Happy to share that. Success Strategies was actually based upon a business plan that I wrote with a team of fellow students at Duke University when I was working on my MBA, and in which I finished in 1989. Great program. I had a really good team of people around me that worked with me on developing this entrepreneurship business plan. And so, unfortunately, it took me 10 years to get it off the ground and get started, which in hindsight, I may have been able to start it sooner. But to be perfectly honest with you, I went through 10 years of fantastic learning in corporate America, and even more so the last 7 years as a commercial lender, because what that really helped to do was position me to understand both sides of the equation. The borrower, the dairyman who I was very familiar with from prior career roles, but also from a lender's perspective. What did we need? What did we need to do to bring them, up to speed to please the bank, so to speak? But anyway, going back to Duke University, it was a great class. I spent 7 to 8, almost 8 years as a VP and commercial loan officer. Made a lot of dairy and vineyard loans, and also, despite multiple people advising me not to do this, not because they didn't want me to compete, but rather they were concerned that it wouldn't work out very well. And frankly, it has worked out extremely well. Become a person who's really noted for financial turnarounds on ailing operations. And I think, in overall, I'd like to say that business finance is like personal health. They say the person that has his health has lots of goals. The person who is seriously ill has only one primary goal, and that's to regain their health. And frankly, it's the same with businesses. It's basically the same. A business or a person is financially strong, has a lot of goals, has a lot of objectives they want to pursue, things they want to do. But a business that's struggling financially has just one goal, and that's to get stronger, get back on their feet, and become more profitable, not only just to survive, but also to move on to higher and higher levels of success.
Oh, those are some great points. And speaking of sort of moving to higher and higher level success, when we look at, you mentioned dairy producers earlier, when we look at the challenges that dairy producers have today and going beyond that of the current challenges of high commodities and does it fit with current milk prices, but when it comes to financial management, what are some of the challenges that you see when working with your clients that are fairly common that we could address today?
Okay, great question. I have several things in mind on this one. I think, one of the biggest is literally understanding their cost of production. And it's not just as an accounting function, but rather being able to anticipate future trends. I think from historical accounting, very valuable to businesses and a nice foundation for any business, whether it's a dairy business or some other type of operation. But the reality is, it's anticipating those future trends is where I think our organization adds a lot of value. It's thinking about things before they happen, not wishing bad things on anyone, or certainly not on the industry, but the reality is things change and we need to move forward. So to do that, I think you've really got to have a strong handle on your cost on a dairy, for example, on your cost per hundredweight, not criticizing anybody. And because every operation is a little different. Even in my clientele, there's quite a variance in labor costs, because a lot of those things are based on facilities. But I think cost of production, knowing that is critical. Along that same line, knowing their break-even levels for milk production, feed costs, and milk price are crucial. Our clients have both of those two things, the cost of production and the break-even levels, have a pretty good handle on it. I think third, setting objectives for their business, driving forward with a plan that we are pretty certain will work. And do they all work out? No, I don't walk on water, and neither do my clients. But we get pretty darn close on most of them. And some that weren't supposed to work out, all those that weren't supposed to work out have really turned out pretty well for the client. And you know what? I always say, if we're not serving the client, then we're not doing our job. This isn't about me. It's not my popularity or fame. It's about helping the client succeed. And finally, I would say on that point, working closely with their banker to get the intended objectives and basically keeping them in the loop, keeping them informed, I think is crucial.
And John, you mentioned earlier in your response about the bankers and lenders, and I think that's a great point to talk about right now. And on your website, successstrategies.com, you have a paper that you've written about the top 10 things every business person should know. And one of those points was knowing what your banker is thinking. Could you expand on this?
Oh, absolutely. Great question. I think it's crucial that, and I think we all tend to not want to do this, but I think it's crucial that it's just required that we keep the banker in the loop at all times about three items in particular. First of all, what you're planning to do with your the steps, how you're going to do it, the steps you've got to take, the plans you have, and when you hope to complete it, because I think that's pretty crucial. Because, without a deadline for yourself, it just becomes a dream instead of reality. Second of all, I think you need to come to grips with and share with the banker what you need in terms of financing. And does it literally make sense for your operation? Just because your neighbor down the road is doing something doesn't necessarily mean that it fits your facility, your team, and your herd. So it's something to think about. What are the costs versus, what are the potential benefits of this change? And I think it's important to keep bankers updated on your progress. Typically, I think with rare exception, I can't think of any right offhand, I would think that they all want you to succeed. Nobody wants to make a bad loan. The last thing they ever want to do is make a bad loan and face the after effects of that nightmarish type situation. So it's important, I think, that we keep them up to date and share the concerns you have with them from day one. They're part of your team. And so I think it's important. They may even have seen what you're proposing to do at another operation. And you know what? If they have some insight on that, that's so valuable to you as a borrower and as a producer. I think that's really critical, and critical in a positive way.
So as we wind down, I always like to talk about the take-home messages. And so for you, what would be the key take-home messages about working with a bank relationship and enhancing that you'd like to leave with producers and their advisors today?
I would leave you with several points, Chris. I think for our listeners, Number one, remember, as I was wisely advised by a former bank manager, he told me, I said, boy, this is so difficult. And you know what? He said, John, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And of course, that would take the profit out of the whole process.
Yeah.
So if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. That's why you as a producer are in this unique position and doing some exciting things. I think number two, it really doesn't matter where you start. What matters is where you finish. And so instead of looking in the rearview mirror, let's look forward and set the objective out there where we know it's attainable. But, this process of making these changes in your operation become financially feasible. And, we call it success strategies because we want you to get to a higher level of success. We don't win unless the clients do. And I think that's true for all of us that are serving the industry, and just like your organization, Chris. And I commend you for that. Number three, I would say use your advisors wisely. So many people overlook this valuable team that you have around you. Your veterinarian, nutritionist, banker, if the changes will require some financing, and what doesn't cost money today, preferably to get these people together to discuss the pluses and minuses of your operation. And nobody's operation is perfect, so we all have areas to work on. But most importantly, what potential solutions are available to you? And I think rather than using these players as kind of like competitors with each other, I think we need to all be pushing in the same direction. They're a team, and they are definitely interested in seeing you succeed. Your success is their success, just as it is mine, and so with my clients. And so we want nothing but the very best for these clients. And I think that's valuable that we get those people together and get them all pushing in the same direction for your success of your operation.
John, I want to thank you today for joining us on Rumination and sharing your wealth of experience in improving lender relationships.
You're welcome.
If the audience would like to know more about John's approach on financial health and lender relationships in particular, you can go to successstrategies.com. And I surely want to thank our audience today for listening to us here at Rumination. And so that you don't miss your next episode of Jefo's podcast, Rumination, you can find us at jefo.ca, on Apple and Google Podcasts, on Spotify as well. This podcast was brought to you by Jefo Nutrition Inc., precision nutrition for a growing world.